What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
I was originally going to have a Star Wars toy video for today. Now that we're less than 100 days from the release of the film, I wanted to check out the vital signs of Star Wars before the flood of new, undesired merchandise. That video's coming on Monday, but today I had to address one of the dumbest things I've ever experienced online. Rian Johnson. Are you waiting for me to say more? It's just all of them. Rian Johnson, or the man who ruined Star Wars as he should be known moving forward, has a new movie coming out next month that only smug, self-indulgent critics are praising because of a political slant. It's funny. Kind of like the anti-Dave Chappelle. Critics dump on Chappelle and get his special to a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes because they don't like his message. But the critics are going the opposite route for Rian Johnson's Knives Out. They're giving praise for the political message, quality be damned. All the reviews mention the political rhetoric and not the story. That's never a good thing. I feel like it's too important to just gloss over in a Star Wars video. That bullshit aside, while on the promotional tour, Rian Johnson can't help but open his mouth and say something asinine about Star Wars. Just like when Grand Moff Tarkin tightens his grip and star systems slip through his fingers, every time Rian Johnson opens his mouth, a Star Wars fan dies from his stupidity. Now you're probably asking yourself, Jeff, how could it be worse than the stuff he said last year? He called those who didn't like The Last Jedi Russian bots, trolls, and man-babies. Well, friends, those are pretty hefty insults, but Rian Johnson has managed to top that by opening his mouth and telling us why his film, Star Wars The Last Jedi, sucks. Rian Johnson provides update on his Star Wars status. Star Wars The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson provided an update on his Star Wars status. Johnson spoke with Uproxx while promoting his Knives Out film about his status with Lucasfilm and Star Wars. Johnson stated, "I'm where I can't say anything about it. Still completely in the process with it." He would add, "It's just, I don't know, it's a process. It's a process. So that means it could change, it could shift. There's a bunch of moving parts with it." That's all the update he gives us. However, he did reveal that when he first saw The Empire Strikes Back in theaters, he was disappointed. Johnson revealed, "But as a kid, I distinctly remember being disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back." Johnson would go on to admit The Empire Strikes Back was the first Star Wars film he saw, and it would eventually become his favorite. "I think my dad took me when I was really young to see A New Hope." Yeah, no, I remember, especially in context to Return of the Jedi, which as a kid I adored. So yeah, I remember very vividly, but then Empire became my favorite one. That right there. This is why Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi is trash. He doesn't get Star Wars and he never did. In making this video, I found that certain websites have an agenda they're really pushing for. The whole The Empire Strikes Back was hated narrative. Over on MovieWeb and CinemaBlend, you'll find the links to articles about how The Empire Strikes Back wasn't universally praised. And over on MovieWeb, they have this convenient little blurb. "Perhaps coming as a surprise to many Star Wars fans, the initial reception to The Empire Strikes Back was less than favorable. The once popular sci-fi magazine Starlog compiled the critical responses to the film back in 1980, and the mixed response does bear some parallels to The Last Jedi, particularly with regards to the film's overarching mysteries and parentage solutions." Being the man of research that I am, I went and I tracked down original 1980 reviews for The Empire Strikes Back, and surprise, they're not as dour as you may think. Let's take a look at some. So this is what The Hollywood Reporter had to say in 1980 about The Empire Strikes Back. While Empire doesn't quite measure up to Star Wars in the freshness and originality of its script, and the plethora of space operas that have been jamming the screens ever since Star Wars has somewhat lessened the novelty of city-sized ships sailing in the stratosphere, nevertheless, 20th Century Fox's release remains a rattling good entertainment, a worthy successor to the original, and far and away the best of its kind since Star Wars itself. Time magazine said, "In many ways, the new film is a better film than Star Wars. Visually more exciting, more artful and meticulous in detail. As a special effects wizard, Lucas fairly dazzles the eye with his optic image." The Washington Post said, "A stunning successor, a tense and pictorially dazzling science fiction chase melodrama that sustains 2 hours of elaborate adventure while sneaking up on you emotionally." The Daily News says, "Anyone planning to see The Empire Strikes Back should be warned right away that it is done as a 2-hour chapter that ends in a cliffhanger, which is likely to leave an unsatisfied feeling, unlike Star Wars, which can be taken as a self-contained unit. This acknowledged, the movie nevertheless is a spectacular piece of work that carries the new Star Wars tradition forward." Variety stated, "A worthy sequel to Star Wars, equal in both technical mastery and characterization, suffering only from the familiarity of the effects generated in the original and imitated too much by others." So while not as universally praised as A New Hope, or Star Wars as it was called back then, the big news sources were pretty favorable to The Empire Strikes Back. Personally, there were times when each of the original trilogy would be considered my favorite, When I first discovered Star Wars, I was only aware of the one film, so it was my favorite. Then after seeing the whole trilogy, Return of the Jedi became my favorite. As I grew older, The Empire Strikes Back held that spot until my mid-20s, where I finally settled on A New Hope being my ultimate favorite. Now those out there who hate watch my videos may be saying, aha, you too are disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back. How could you criticize Rian Johnson for his stance? Well, pal, I was never disappointed by The Empire Strikes Back. It was great. I loved the cliffhanger ending. The week between seeing that and Return of the Jedi was torture. Literally every day I thought about the film and what was going to happen next with Luke Skywalker. I was impressed by the asteroid chase, the Battle of Hoth, and the lightsaber duel, which I still maintain to this day is the best of the saga. Period. Jumping back to Rian Johnson, I know, I too would rather jump out a window than talk about this roly-poly a-hole, but there's more to his trash. Let's jump back to the article. He, Rian Johnson, pronouns pal, would then praise the passion of Star Wars fans, whether that passion was expressed through anger or through positivity. I think anything with a passionate following always has a passionate following, and Star Wars is that. Even more so. You can't be angry at one side of it when it's also the reason the positive is so passionate, you know? It's all part of the same thing, and it always was like this basic thing. That's why I love it. Rumors have swirled around Rian Johnson about whether or not his announced trilogy will actually take place, given the fan feedback towards The Last Jedi and the ensuing box office bomb of Solo, a Star Wars story. Johnson's comments do nothing to really address the rumors, as he indicates there's a bunch of moving parts, and it could change, it could shift. Not only are rumors swirling around Johnson and his announced trilogy, but the director has notoriously gone after the fans he's now praising for being passionate. In an attempt to defend The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson has tried to pull every trick out of the bag. He's blamed Russian trolls and politics, he's blamed the fans, in fact, he's even described Star Wars fans as man-babies. Johnson also tried to explain his massive plot holes in the film that radically alter Star Wars lore, such as the Holdo maneuver. It's interesting that Johnson appears to be changing his tact and tone, as Disney gears up to release The Rise of Skywalker. Could it be possible that Disney and Lucasfilm don't want him to gin up to any more negative controversies as they try to sell the public on The Rise of Skywalker? It's painfully obvious what's going on here. Disney wants all the negative PR from Rian Johnson and Star Wars to just disappear. But that's not how the internet works. Fans remember all the drama, all the negativity, all the hate. Rian Johnson despises you. Lucasfilm despises you. Disney despises you. But when they want your money during a Star Wars release year, they fucking love you. You are great, passionate people. But after they have your money, you're all incel trolls inhabiting your parents' basement. Apologizing to build up the goodwill that he, Rian Johnson, pronouns pal, pissed away is indicative of the type of person Rian Johnson is. Remember, this is his goal with every film.
I would be worried if everybody across the board was like, yeah, that was a good movie. It's much more exciting to me when you get, a group of people who are like coming up to you and really, really excited about it, and you know it's going to be something that they're having their DVD collection and watch over. And the way that I got into Miller's Crossing, maybe, I don't know, but and then there are other people who walk out literally saying that was the worst movie I've ever seen. Having those two extremes to me is the mark of the type of movie that I want to make.
Now I have to say I admire the man. He did exactly what he set out to do. He executed his plan perfectly, even if it was a stupid-ass plan that ruined Star Wars forever. You'll notice that J.J. Abrams has changed his tune too, which is convenient. His film, The Rise of Skywalker, has a lot to fix, and hopefully it will make us forget about The Last Jedi. Like it'll make us forget about all of this. Moving parts aside, talk of Rian Johnson's trilogy is just that. Talk. Nothing's set in stone, nothing's official, and I'd make a Dukes Brothers bet that nothing comes of it. Time will tell if that's true. But one certainty we have right now is that The Last Jedi is the worst Star Wars film, and no amount of time or introspective circle jerkery will change that. Thanks for nothing, Rian. So that's it for today, folks. What do you think of Rian Johnson's comments? Hell, what do you think of Rian Johnson the man? I find it funny that these websites are trying to push the narrative that The Empire Strikes Back was disliked because, The Last Jedi sucks. And I find it hollow, I find it offensive, I find it embarrassing, quite frankly. And people will make the argument, well, people can't complain in 1980, there's no internet, no one knows how you feel. Well, in 1988/89, there was a massive letter writing campaign because people did not like Michael Keaton as Batman. They thought of Mr. Mom, they thought of Beetlejuice, they thought of all these other films that he had been in, and they did not like the fact that he was going to play Batman. So, maybe I'm wrong, but in 1980, they could have done the same thing about The Empire Strikes Back if they wanted to. There was postage, there was letters, there was a post office. Could have been done, but it wasn't. Why? Because the narrative is garbage these days. Remember Rotten Tomatoes. They want to say, oh, it was only fake trolls and accounts that didn't matter that reviewed The Last Jedi. Sorry, folks. Some people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. That's why the film made $750 million less than The Force Awakens. Maybe that's because The Force Awakens didn't capture the hearts and minds of all the people they wanted it to. They came back and saw it, they skipped this one, or people just saw this one once without repeat views. There are many possibilities, but the fact of the matter is it made a whole hell of a lot less. And if the new Star Wars moving forward is going to be more of The Last Jedi than The Force Awakens, we'll expect The Rise of Skywalker to make even less money. But time will tell, and we'll talk about that at another time. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it all over social media. I see who shares our posts, and I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're a super fan of this channel, well, join our Patreon page. $1 a month goes a long way, but $5, which is only 17 cents a day, goes even further. It gives you exclusive access to all kinds of digital content, podcasts, commentaries, live streams, special videos for certain tiers, and the perks get higher and higher. But if you want to get involved with just the community aspect, well, check out our Facebook page. It's a lot of fun. It's a private group. You will be vetted, but you will have a good time. Make some friends. Get involved in the community and the fandom menace. So, folks, I'm going to head out here. It's been a long day, but I had to talk about Rian Johnson's Star Wars because when the man opens his mouth, stupidity just flows out. Verbal diarrhea just rushes into the streets. And I don't feel responsible to clean all of it up, but I feel responsible enough to tell you to do this thing. Go out into the world and be excellent to each other.